Good afternoon, VC. Dave here. As I mentioned in my last video, there's been a thread going around showing records associated with concerts that you've been to and showing the concert tickets to go along with that. Had a few people wanting to see me do this, so jumping on here. Kind of threw this together pretty quickly. It's probably not going to be all the greatest shows I've been to or anything like that, but going to be some good ones. So we'll jump right in. First show was Tool at the Tabernacle in Atlanta on the release night of Lateralus. They only played, I think, 5 shows in the United States at that time before going to Europe, and Atlanta was one of them, and it was on the actual day of release, May 15th, 2001. And yeah, man, what did I pay for this ticket? $29.50. And there were scalpers in the parking lot selling them for $300. There was a huge line to get in. First time I've ever gone through like metal detectors, security. There were people getting arrested for selling counterfeits. Some people that were in line right near us we were talking with had come down from Boston for the show, bought the counterfeits, didn't get in. Crazy. And I have a album here, double album of Lateralus from Tool. Phenomenal. This is the gatefold. I have another pressing of this. This, I think, is one of the reissues that I grabbed out of the stack. This is beautiful, though. And it's, of course, got the crazy picture discs. I'm going to take them out. They're too far there. But, yeah. That was an amazing trip. We had got a hotel. What a show. As they debuted one of the videos from this record. They actually played the video during their break and then came out and played the song live. So unbelievable. And they closed. Oh geez. Oh, what song was it? Hold on just a moment. It's been a while. Let's see. They closed with the song off Opiate. Yeah, the song Opiate. And being in an old church, that was fairly ironic, and I think done on purpose by Maynard. But absolutely awesome show. Let's see what's next here. The next would be Local H. Show on February 21st, 1997 at Tremont Music Hall here in Charlotte, which is no longer here, which is very goddamn sad. And here's the ticket. And this ticket is autographed by the band. So you got Scott Lucas, who signed it I'm Scott, and Joe Daniels, the original drummer, and then Gabe Rodriguez, who is their do everything roadie. Phenomenal show. Very influential band on me because I was playing in a band at the time called Jarvis, and we had lost our bass player, and they were two-piece, and Scott's rig was insane. He was playing through a bass rig and a guitar rig at the same time through an SG. And after the show, I asked him how he had set up his rig, and he told me how he set up the guitar to be able to pull that off, and I ended up having my SG custom built, basically almost to the same specs as Scott Lucas's, and they were touring this album, As Good as Dead, which had originally only been out on CD. So this is from '96. This is for the 2016 pressing on Island Records, and this sounds really damn good. Gatefold as well, and yeah, a double album. One of my all-time favorites. Absolutely love this record. All the songs are killer on this. Manifest Density, absolutely fucking wicked. Yeah, so great show. Really stoked to meet those guys. Another show down the road at Tremont. I ended up getting a set list from them and a drumstick. Awesome. Let's see what's next. Next was a huge show. This was August 13th, 1997. At the time, it was called Blockbuster Pavilion, our large amphitheater here in Charlotte. And that was Rage Against the Machine. And Wu-Tang Clan opened that show. So it was absolutely killer. The band I was roading for at the time was a rap rock band here from Charlotte, Five Times Down. And we had just played the night before down in Myrtle Beach at House of Blues, which is a story all in itself, and had to hightail it back that next morning to make the Rage show. And we certainly did. We had box seats up front, so it was killer. And I have an OG of Rage Against the Machine. I got this the day it came out in '92, back in college at Fredonia in New York. Used to have a small record store in town. I think it was called In Your Ear, which, oddly enough, I think there's another record store now, because that one's long gone, in Boston with the same name. But this is one of the prized possessions in my record collection. This is somehow weathered the storm through all my moves and is in great shape. Iconic record. That show was unbelievable. They traded off on a few tracks where Method Man came out with Rage, and Zach De La Rocha went out with Wu-Tang for a track. So Tom Morello live and in person, nothing like it. And it's funny, right now I'm my next film gig is for Rage Against the Machine. It's a cover band of Rage here in Charlotte that, I mean, you close your eyes and it sounds like Rage. They are doing a hell of a job, and it's now gone. They're not full national yet, but they're now full East Coast, and just played House of Blues a couple times, so they're getting big, and they do a hell of a job. My friend Cheetah, who I've supported throughout the years, is the drummer. Killer stuff. Next, same venue, different name at the time. It had changed names to Verizon Wireless Amphitheater, and I got to see Radiohead. This was May 9th of '08, and that was for the In Rainbows tour. I have the record here. This came out same year. Phenomenal Radiohead album. And they played almost the entire record. They also played all the stuff I wanted to hear from OK Computer, and the performance was flawless, mind-blowing. They had these screens behind them that projected live images of each individual in the band separately. And so there was a different camera person zooming in on what they were doing on their instruments and everything, like close-ups, and it was all separate. And I'd never seen a band do that with that concept visually. It absolutely was phenomenal. That's a big show. Being able to see them, it was expensive. It's probably the most I've ever paid for a concert ticket. I think it was probably $80. Usually I don't pay over 30, or at all if I'm working. But yeah, unbelievable. Next show. Oh, this would be Maserati. This was May 26th of '07 at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina. One of my favorite venues in the world. They have what's called in there the Big Ass Fan. It's a fan the size of a freaking city. If that thing ever fell, it would kill 3,000 people. Amazing, but they had just released this album on vinyl that night from '07, and this is Inventions for the New Season. Phenomenal Maserati record, instrumental, driving, just melodic, fantastic band. This is great, and this was with their original drummer, who sadly passed away, actually tragically, but yeah, highly recommend this record. If you can find a copy. Copies now are difficult to find for Maserati, especially these originals. They seem to go for larger dollars for some reason. Next, Poison the Well at Tremont Music Hall. This was back in April 17th of '06. Love this band. One of my favorite heavier bands from the screamo age. And I have an original of You Come Before You. Another huge record in my collection for me. This one crushes. On Trustkill, man. This came out a few years before the show. Intense band. In the main room at Tremont. It always sounded great. Awesome. Let's see, what do we have next? This is how you do a live show right here, guys. So Lagunitas Beer sponsored this show at the Fillmore here in Charlotte. It was called the Couch Trippin', and this was the Black Angels. They are from Austin, kind of a heavy, trippy rock band. And the show was, the tickets were free. You just went down to Lunchbox or Repo and picked them up. They did cut the amount of people off at some point of coming in, because Lagunitas was pouring free beer out of the taps all night. So and they were heavy beers. So it was free tickets, free beers. Parking at the time was free before they charged $5 now. So I had money for records. So yeah, we got the Black Angels Passover. This was the '06 pressing on Light in the Attic Records. Phenomenal album. Love the artwork. Gatefold, double record. Young Men Dead, killer song I first heard in a snowboarding video of all things. That got me hooked on this band. Got a few of their CDs. Great stuff. They played an amazing show. Yeah, can't recommend them enough as well. All right, so now let's see what we have. Oh, this is one I was really glad I got to go to now, especially. And this was Soundgarden opening for Nine Inch Nails. And this was, PNC Music Pavilion. It's now the name of the place. It was Blockbuster, then Verizon. Now it's called PNC. And, man, Soundgarden played it all. Was phenomenal. Kim Thayil is one of my favorite guitar players of all time. I thought I'd show this. This is the triple vinyl Telephantasm, because this contains, pretty much everything from Soundgarden that you want. It's got the early stuff, stuff off each album and some live tracks. This is really cool. I got this when it came out at Manifest here for a good price. So it's got just amazing artwork. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'd love to have the Soundgarden originals like Andrew does, but those have been hard to come by. So that does me good in the meantime. And of course, they opened for Nine Inch Nails, which is a difficult thing to do. And honestly, I'm a huge Soundgarden fan, but Nine Inch Nails blew them away. absolutely was an unreal show, visually, sonically. Man, unreal. And I've got here the Fragile, which is top 5 album of all time for me in any genre. This is an all-out masterpiece. It's hard to top. And the performances are unreal. One of the best live bands on the planet. Trent Reznor is a god. Yeah, Fragile. At the time, they were actually touring their new album. That had a song, A Copy of a, which is a killer track. I still need to get that record with that track on it. Yeah. Moving along. Next show, one just from a few years back. Again at the Orange Peel up in Asheville. It's DJ Shadow, the Mountain Will Fall tour. Wow. Not many chances to see DJ Shadow. Took advantage. Visual show with the monitors behind him. Phenomenal. Actually, it was the second time I've seen a band use the cameras showing themselves live behind themselves, like Radiohead. Had a little of that in there. And picked this up. This is... what's the name of this one? The Mountain Has Fallen EP, which came out after the full length, because he played the track Corridors featuring Stephen Price, which is wild, killer track. Had to grab this when it came out. What a show from DJ Shadow, man. That's one of the best ones I've seen in the last few years for sure. Next. An iconic band, one I grew up with. I still have all the cassettes, and that's Rush. This was the Snakes and Arrows tour. At the time, it was, I think, Verizon Wireless. So this is from July 20th of 2008. They played a little of everything, which was awesome. Just I couldn't believe how well they could still do it. Alex Lifeson was great. I had heard maybe he had fallen off. He didn't that night, and I got an original here of Permanent Waves, one of my favorite records from Rush. This is on Mercury Polygram from 1980. Picked this up from Luke with Premium Sound here, Tip Top, back when he was doing pop-ups. And man, Geddy Lee had in his bass cam, and it was kind of an open concept with turkeys basting inside of it, literally. Absolutely wicked. It's something you're just never going to see at a show. Very cool. Next, let's see what we have here. This is the Life and Times at the Drunken Unicorn in Atlanta, Georgia. I filmed this show for the Life and Times. That was the ticket. And they had just put out this record, which is by far and away, I think, their best. Let's see. I got the wrong one here. Hold on. That's what I get for being in a hurry. Let's see. Gotta find it now, boys and girls. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Shit happens. Here it is. No One Loves You Like I Do. Most intense stuff from these guys. They are right up front, on top of you, 3-piece. Bass player is very dynamic. The drummer is all out badass. Alan Epley on guitar and vocals is a master. He's now actually performing in the Blue Man Group for work. Very talented guys. The drummer's really good friends with my friend Akiko in Japan. They're now based out of Chicago instead of Kansas City. So they're playing up that way quite a bit. Don't miss these guys if they're out. Phenomenal band. Really great guys too. And let's see. think what I have left here is my favorite show of all time, and that is Lungfish. Got to see them in Philadelphia at North Star Bar. They were touring Feral Hymns at the time. This was on Discord Records. This is from '05. Phenomenal show. I've told the story about this show a bunch of times. I have still some of the flyers from that show. Bruce Lee, absolutely fucking cool. And picked up this artwork of Daniel Higgs from Lungfish at the show that somehow has survived. This has been up and down off of different walls of homes I've lived at. Man, that's it. Got to jump off here. Really fun doing this thread. Hope everybody jumps on and does one as well. Peace.